The video review will start in a few seconds, but if you're watching this on YouTube, remember, if you have a question, comment, or suggestion for me, you can post it on 3dgameman.com, and the link is provided below. Hello again, I'm Rodney Reynolds from 3dgameman.com, and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the Cooler Master i700 700W power supply. A pretty plain looking box with a picture of the product on the front, as well as other features and specifications about the product. They have plastic wrap on the outside. Let me peel that off and let's see what's on the inside. Now, the first thing I noticed when I opened up this power supply is the packaging, or lack thereof. A lot of power supplies will come sandwiched in styrofoam to protect it during shipment. This one doesn't. It's kind of just thrown inside of the box. Here's the user's manual, power cord, 4 black screws, and the power supply, which is wrapped in a plastic bag. Now let's have a closer look at this product. The i series of power supplies are currently available in 3 wattages, 500, 600, and 700, and I'll be reviewing the 700 watt model today. Now, how is this wattage determined? Well, to understand that, you need to know what rails are. And rails are basically well-regulated transformers which convert domestic current into the voltages that your computer system can use. And there are essentially 2 different rails, the 3.3/5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail. Now, in this particular case, the approximate maximum peak output of the 3.3/5 volt rail is 120 watts, and the 12 volt is 660 watts, which is essentially how the wattage of this power supply is determined. Now, the 3.3/5 volt rail is responsible for the motherboard, memory, PCI cards, and so on, while the 12 volt rail is responsible for the hard drives, optical drives, fans, CPU, video cards, etc. It's also important to know the peak amps on each rail, and in this particular case, the plus 3.3 volt and the plus 5 volt rails are 20 amps each, and it has a pretty good single plus 12 volt rail, which is 55 amps. Now, when deciding on a power supply, you need to know a number of things. First of all, figure out what kind of budget you have for a power supply, but do not cheap out on a power supply. Get a brand name, decent power supply that has a really good warranty. So let me go through some of the important things to remember when selecting a power supply. The first is obviously wattage. You need to determine how much wattage you are going to require by the amount of hardware that you will be installing, and there are a number of online power supply calculators that you can use for that. Just Google it. Now, this particular power supply would fall in that medium to high-end gaming rig at 700 watts. Second, it should be at or above 80% efficiency at typical load, and that's not a problem for this power supply since its efficiency is more than 85% at typical load. Third, it should meet the latest ATX and other current standards, environmental directives, over voltage, under voltage, and other protections. This power supply meets all current standards. Fourth, I'd recommend choosing a power supply that has APFC. APFC, or active power factor correction, assists the power supply in being more efficient and therefore stable under load. APFC basically reduces total harmonics, corrects input voltage, and allows for full input voltage range. And thankfully, this power supply has APFC. Fifth, there are 3 main certifications: 80+, NVIDIA SLI, and AMD Crossfire. Now, many of today's high-end power supplies meet 1 or more of these certifications, and this power supply meets the 80+ bronze certification. Sixth, look for a power supply that uses Japanese capacitors, because this ensures a much more reliable product than a power supply with low-grade capacitors. Finally, get a power supply that has enough leads for your setup. Also, consider a power supply that has a modular design, because it reduces the cable mess inside of the case. Also, very important is to get a power supply with a fantastic warranty, and this one does come with an impressive 5-year warranty. This power supply has a black paint finish and the housing is steel. Note that the power supply is pretty compact, so it's perfect for a small form factor build. Also, they include a very quiet 120mm fan with intelligent fan speed control, and there's lots of ventilation, so this power supply should remain cool in almost any environment. Here's the power cord connection and the power switch. Now, this power supply isn't modular, rather all the leads are hardwired into the power supply and cannot be removed. However, the main motherboard lead 2024 pin is sleeved, but unfortunately none of the other leads are sleeved. So if you get this power supply, you're going to have to tuck the leads that are not wanted away behind the motherboard tray to really improve the overall look on the inside of the case, as well improve airflow inside the case. Personally, I prefer a modular power supply because, you only need to use the leads required for your particular setup, and this of course reduces the cable mess inside the case and thus increases airflow, and let's face it, it looks much better. Now, this power supply falls between a value product and an enthusiast product. It's really intended for the enthusiast who is on a budget, because when you go with value power supplies, you're looking at ones that are not 80 plus certified at all. Usually they are not painted as well. They don't come with the fantastic warranty that this one does. I think this power supply is going to go over very well because a lot of people are on a budget. They're looking for a 700 watt power supply that is not going to break the bank, but still does deliver on quality power, which this one does. Overall, this is a great product. Until next time, take care. I hope you enjoyed this video review, and please note that pricing for this product is available on the 3D Game Man video review page.